Hi guys, welcome in. Today we're gonna take a look at Lionel Messi or Leo Messi, and I just figured out and just realized he doesn't speak English. So this will be either a cool experiment of how to type non, people who don't speak your native tongue. I was thinking that having TE Trickster here is probably pretty helpful because I don't have to be so concerned with the context. Now, that is also something that the TE Trickster might say to you, which could be totally false also. But regardless of that, we're gonna dig in, see what we can find out about Lionel Messi. I know the World Cup's going on right now. He's been playing well, and as he always does. And we'll see if we can figure out his type.
Que nunca imaginé que iba a vivir todo lo que viví, que iba a tener la carrera que tuve. Nunca lo pensé ni lo imaginé, siempre mi único objetivo y mi sueño era ser profesional, era jugar al fútbol. Que cuando pasan las cosas es porque tiene que ser así, porque tiene que pasar de esa manera.
Hi, I'm Zane Lowe. I've spent a large part of my life sitting with some of the greatest artists of all time, talking to a rare and golden opportunity.
Lionel Messi, it's great to meet you. You've invited us into the central nervous system of this stadium. This is a locker room. I don't get to spend any time in here. Almost everybody watching this doesn't either. How would you describe the experience of a locker room for those who don't get to spend time in it?
Bueno, creo que este es un lugar muy importante para nosotros, como se suele decir, acá adentro pasan muchas cosas que lo ideal siempre es que queden acá adentro, tanto lo bueno como lo malo, que muchas veces pasan cosas también. Creo que un buen
Okay, keep it inside here, both you keep the good and the bad here. I think that's either SE or FE statement, but I'll let it play for a minute. I want to get a feel for him. Just visually wise, he kind of looks like a finisher type, looks a little bit like ISTJ, ISTP. So
vestuario es fundamental para conseguir grandes objetivos y bueno, nosotros pasamos mucho tiempo tanto en el vestuario, en el entrenamiento el día a día como el día de partido, muchas horas, pasan muchas cosas y creo que ahí es donde vamos generando ese grupo, esa cercanía, esa amistad que se dan y bueno, es un lugar importante para nosotros.
This is a place where games can be won and lost, particularly at halftime. Can you think of a moment or an experience throughout your career where that was very much the case, that what occurred in the locker room at halftime really changed the course of the game?
No, bueno, es difícil saber si en un medio tiempo muchas veces saber si vas a ganar o perder el partido. El fútbol pasa muchísimas cosas en un...
okay, so that right there is saying can you tell how things are going to change in halftime? The way you answered that was very concrete. You don't really know what's going to happen. A lot goes on in a football game, a soccer game. So that's I would say that's both SE and TI actually, but particularly low abstraction. One way to type abstraction is seeing people get the opportunity to abstract, like that'd be an opportunity to abstract, and he denies it. He says, "No, you don't really know what's going to happen. You can't really anticipate that. A lot happens in a soccer game, a football match." Okay, so that's some concrete. Probably some TISE also.
segundo puede cambiar todo un partido con un gol, una expulsión o una jugada, lo que sea. Así que bueno, el tiempo para intentar de corregir cosas que están pasando en el partido, que por ahí dentro de la cancha es difícil porque es difícil comunicarte, hay gente, no te escuchás o el técnico ve otras cosas que vos no ves desde adentro. La verdad no tengo un recuerdo muy especial, pero creo que son son importantes los momentos de medio tiempo para, tanto como para cambiar un partido como para terminar de definir un encuentro, ¿no? Pero la verdad que es difícil saber si se va a ganar o perder un partido en un primer tiempo porque de un momento a otro el fútbol que es muy cambiante.
Like I was saying, this is such a unique environment for me to be in. I'm a fan of the game and obviously of the way that you play it, but I live in music. Music is what I've spent my life really addicted to and committed to. So I'd love to know what your relationship has been with music throughout your life.
Bueno, de hecho, donde estamos se suele escuchar mucha música en el día a día o lo antes de los partidos o después de los partidos también. El ambiente del fútbol y el vestuario convive continuamente con la música.
Good amount of SE so far. Like this is what happens. This is the experience in the environment, as he was describing a moment ago. Going into the second half, there's the coaches are doing this, your teammates are doing this, you're doing this. Some SE so far.
Algunos escuchan su música individual antes de los partidos, en los viajes, pero mucho tiempo también en general, la música para todo. Siempre tuve esa manía también de ir escuchando música a los partidos, de escuchar música antes de los partidos. Creo que durante toda mi carrera siempre fue de esa manera y que en el fútbol y la música conviven mucho en este momento y en estos lugares.
Rewind that.
Partidos, de escuchar música antes de los partidos. Creo que durante toda mi carrera siempre fue de esa manera y que en el fútbol y la música conviven mucho en este momento y en estos lugares.
You know, there's a lot of
Okay, so tricky thing, but important thing. Um, the ES, so of the SP type, so she's good possibility. He's one of those. Um, when someone is using SE, it's a little hard to distinguish between that and outcome. So, in other words, when people are using SE, it looks like progression, like, okay, they did this and these people are doing this and this is what's going on in the environment. It's not necessarily progression, even though it looks like it. It can be just giving the full SE experience. So far, SE is what's jumping out. Extrovert sensing is what's jumping out to me of seems to have this bold relationship with extrovert sensing, which ISTP wouldn't as much. But also the little detail that was most interesting to me so far is as he was talking about the locker room, he made a real point of saying like this is where you bond with your teammates, that connective element. If you guys remember the cognitive origins and the origins of connection, that came to mind.
great songs now that reference you in terms of being an icon or the GOAT as somebody that you should aspire to achieve like Messi or be more like Messi. How do you feel when you hear your name referenced in songs and people referring to you in those moments?
Bueno, me siento muy halagado, obviamente, por aparecer en una letra o incluso mis hijos hoy lo disfruta, se sorprende de escuchar mi nombre en algún tema. La verdad que es lindo, ¿no? Poder ser partícipe de la música de ese lado, de que me tengan en cuenta en muchas.
I'm gonna rewind this a bit. I'm gonna have to rewind a few of these clips because of the subtitles.
Una letra o
Great songs now that reference you in terms of being an icon or the GOAT as somebody that you should aspire to achieve like Messi or be more like Messi. How do you feel when you hear your name referenced in songs and people referring to you in those moments?
Bueno, me siento muy halagado, obviamente, por aparecer en una letra o incluso mis hijos hoy lo disfruta, se sorprende.
My sons enjoy it and they're surprised, describing the reaction. Some more SE, maybe some FE too. You know, yeah, yeah. I'll just say that.
de, de escuchar mi nombre en algún tema. La verdad que
Okay, so this is important for FE versus FI. He did say like I'm flattered at the beginning, and then he's outsourcing the filling reaction to his children. Like, they think it's cool when they hear my name, as opposed to an FI user might be more like, I feel makes me feel great. I feel honored, all these things. Um, so um, yeah, that's an example of extroverted feeling.
qué lindo, ¿no? Poder ser partícipe de la música de ese lado, que me tengan en cuenta en muchas de las letras, porque hay muchos artistas los cuales me han nombrado en sus canciones y la verdad que para mí es algo muy emocionante y estoy agradecido a todo lo que lo hicieron porque sé que en toda la letra me nombran con mucho cariño y siempre halagándome desde algún lado y la verdad que nada, que
He's describing the nature of their FI. They flatter me for some reason. They feel good about me for some reason. Affection for some reason. So I think that's extroverted feeling. So far, if I were just to spot functions, I'd say SE and FE, which according to like that socionics vector, I know Solomon talks about this bold and whatever I forgot the other word, but the opposite of bold, cautious. We might be looking at ESTP actually.
agradecido y lo disfruto junto a mis hijos, a mi familia.
Is that when you feel like a cool dad?
Bueno, la verdad que no, lo mío es dentro de la cancha, cuando me salen las cosas y tenemos la oportunidad de festejar algún título, ya sea grupal o individual, y poder disfrutarlo con ellos, creo que es el momento más especial para mí y para ellos,
We get to enjoy it together. More SE, and some FE, I would say also.
porque bueno, hago lo que amo y poder conseguir logro en este deporte.
I see why people think he's an ISTP. He has this kind of modest, somewhat like introverted persona, or just the way he comes across. But does seem to be SE, FE so far, and concrete. We don't see any abstraction here, really.
Poder disfrutarlo con ellos para mí es lo más grande.
Your eldest son is nearing the age that you were when you left home and went to Barcelona. I know when my kids reached a certain point in their lives when my life changed at their age, and it really made me think about my life in a different way. What advice would you have given yourself at that age now, looking back?
Difícil, ¿eh? La verdad que yo veo hoy a mis hijos, a Tiago, que está a punto de cumplir 12 años en unos días, y pensar que yo con esa edad me fui a Barcelona, si bien me fui con toda de mi familia y tenía el respaldo de ellos, la verdad que
I went with my whole family. I had their support. More SE, more FE. Seems to be pushing that a lot. The direct informative here is tough. I would lean towards direct, but actually yes, I would lean towards direct because he's not elaborating to such a degree that I would say it is informative. I think his elaboration is more like trying to trying to describe something that's difficult to describe. So it seems kind of direct so far, but mostly what I see concrete, SE, FE.
se me hace difícil hoy pensar que Tiago pueda pasar por una situación de esa. Incluso ahora tiene un torneo de fútbol donde tiene que viajar por 15 o 20 días y ya no cuesta. Eh, la verdad que no sé, tendría que estar en ese momento y vivirlo realmente
Very low abstraction. I don't know. I'll have to experience it and be in the moment in order to express it. I think an ISTP would be able to move into that future awareness a little bit more.
para,
This is also more TI here. I don't know, I'll have to he's describing what he needs experientially in a TI way. I'll have to be there before I can know it. If I'm there, then I can know it when I'm in the moment.
para, para ver cómo reaccionaría o qué pensaría.
So to be honest, that is a strong example of SE hero. Have to be in the moment to know how I would experience it. That's what we teach in the textbooks and the lectures and the articles of what SE hero looks like, of what SE looks like, particularly SE hero.
Lo único que puedo decir que para mí fue un cambio muy duro, difícil, pero al mismo tiempo era lo que quería, me iba con mi familia, estaba convencido de lo que quería y bueno, siempre pensé que era mi sueño e hice todo lo posible para intentar conseguirlo. Y gracias
He's actually more methodical, which is something I attribute to outcome, something you can attribute to outcome more. Um, he's progressing a little bit in, I would say, more of an SE way as he's describing the story, but he seems kind of uh, not only more to the point, but more kind of segmented in his communication, which is more of an outcome trait. And you don't see him like moving around a lot. He's not very chaotic. ISTPs usually move around more. You can see that with Ronaldo a bit, with like JJ Redick, who is the coach of the Lakers. He's an ISTP, I believe. Um, I think Klay Thompson is an ISTP, also basketball player. He moves around a lot, but so far Messi seems very like just fairly still, which is a trait of outcome types often.
a mi familia, obviamente, que me acompañó y estuvo pegado siempre a mí. Pero la verdad, no sabría decirte qué consejo le daría. Tendría que vivirlo realmente, aunque espero no tener que hacerlo.
I'm gonna stop that one there. If he is an ESTP, he's not like necessarily a stereotypical ESTP. He seems um, pretty agreeable, thoughtful. Um, so, okay, we'll do this next one here. Hopefully you guys don't mind the language difference. I know it's a little different, but very good practice for typing. Okay, let's look at this one for a minute.
Messi on the turn, Messi in a goal. Anywhere on the planet, no matter what language you speak. Photos on Instagram with more than 74 million likes. He is the biggest soccer star in the world, but rarely gives interviews.
Pleasure to meet you. ¿Cómo está? ¿Todo bien?
Sitting down with us because he may be getting ready to surprise the world.
Take me back when you won in 2022 and you held that trophy up and you were on the shoulders of your teammates. What was going through your mind? Cuando ganaste la Copa Mundial, ¿qué estaba pensando?
Lo que pasé y lo que recorrí para conseguir
Well, everything I went through and everything I did to achieve that, it was the dream of my life. And it all came to mind. Everything I went through to get there. My family, my people, and Argentina.
I see. In terms of like where his mind goes, my family, my people, Argentina. I think what he's saying is like their reactions and what it would mean to them and the impact, the SE impact it would have on them. I think that's what he means.
Messi, who grew up in Rosario, Argentina, was a soccer prodigy, recruited to play in Spain as a teenager, dominating for decades. playing professionally with teams in Barcelona and Paris.
The best number 10 in the world, Lionel Messi.
Then, in 2023,
You think that was a sign? Do you believe in signs? Do you think that was a sign?
Well, I'm of the belief that God always decides and does everything. And at that moment, he had that prepared for me.
God always decides. Okay. Interesting. That's almost something that like an ISJ would say. It's like a little inverted, but similar with like NI demon. Like I don't, whatever happens, happens. This sounds a little bit more positive with regard to fate, but it's like that he's entrusting God with that choice rather than him, which any type can be religious or spiritual. And that's not what I'm saying here, but that little attitude towards it feels like a relationship with NI that's not super prominent, not always about his future, the way he wants things to go, a little more experiential. ISTPs are typically pretty invested in that. So not all of them, you have an ISTP who's developed into the critic and the nemesis, and then they might say something like that too, but it's a very interesting way of saying it.
And now, with his team in the MLS playoffs, Messi deciding to extend his contract, telling us first why.
Was it a tough decision to make to say yes?
Honestly, it wasn't. I've always said that I base my decision on how I feel day to day and how I feel physically and mentally to continue playing and to continue being part of this club.
And he still has some unfinished business.
What's tougher, winning a World Cup or getting soccer to be one of the largest, most premier sports in the United States?
Well, I think that growing soccer in the United States is possible. I think it's time to do it.
And soccer will get its biggest opportunity in front of an American audience next summer when the World Cup comes to North America.
I think the United States is going to be spectacular.
It sounds like something the greatest player in the world would not want to miss. Are you going to play in the World Cup?
Well, the truth is that yes, it's something extraordinary to be able to be in a World Cup. And I would like to be there, to feel well and to be an important part of helping my national team if I am
Be there for them, help support my team.
there. And I'm going to assess that on a day-to-day basis when I start preseason next year with Inter and see if I can really be 100%. I'm really eager because it's a World Cup. We're coming off winning the last World Cup, and being able to defend it on the field again is spectacular because it's always a dream to play with the national team, especially in official competitions. So hopefully,
It's always a great experience to do this, especially when the stakes are like this.
God will allow me to do it once again.
We thank you for watching. And
Very interesting. Okay. So this is the same interview. Maybe I can find one more. I want to see one more. I think this guy's an ESTP. Even though I understand why some people think he's an ISTP, but okay, let's look at this post-game interview. I'm not sure if that's the best source for it, but with all the adrenaline and the whatnot, but it's still something. So we'll look at this. This will probably be our last one.
Y por supuesto que el jugador del partido no podía ser otro que The GOAT. Leo, y te pregunto, porque venías de una lesión, el mismo presidente Jorge Mas decía que no estabas al 100%, que todavía estabas lesionado. ¿Cómo lo haces con ese doblete el día de hoy?
No, bueno, quería estar desde que volví con Galaxy y y sentí una molestia ahí, no me sentía cómodo. Me preparé para estar en este partido porque sabía lo importante que era el rival.
I just focused on returning to the match, knew how important it was. That seems more outcome. So I wanted to achieve this outcome. Yeah, I knew what was at stake. This was my goal. Again, it's a little people talking about goals. You have to be a little careful whether that's TENI or outcome. But I think this is an outcome statement. At that day, I knew how important this would be, and I wanted to prepare myself for that.
Rival muy complicado, que este año no había ganado los dos partidos que nos enfrentábamos. Bueno, la verdad que el primer tiempo me sentía un poquito con miedo todavía, pero en el segundo me solté un poco más.
¿Y te sientes bien ahora?
Sí, por suerte sí, terminé bien, cansado, igual que todo el equipo. Mucho calor, mucha humedad, lo mismo de siempre, pero feliz por haber pasado a la final.
La Leagues Cup es un torneo especial para ti porque debutaste en ese mes espectacular donde fuiste goleador del torneo. ¿Cómo vives pasar otra vez a esta final de Leagues Cup 2025?
No, bueno, lo dije en el primer partido, ¿no? Este es un grupo que compite, lo habíamos dicho.
This is a team that loves to compete. This is what we're about. Okay.
Lo habíamos hecho en la Coca Champions, donde nos tocó quedar afuera.
Okay, this is a good example of direct too. Like he's moving through some of the motions of his communication, but he's to the point and he's like kind of logically laying out one point after the other in his thought process. I think this is a good example of outcome, actually. More methodical communication. ISTPs are a lot less methodical typically. Those kind of jump in and move around and feel their way through the communication. I don't see him doing that. I see him being a little bit removed and trying to like reach the point of what he's trying to communicate more quickly.
Con Vancouver en una semifinal. Esta League Cup lo dijimos al principio que la íbamos a pelear. Tuve la mala suerte de perderme varios partidos. El grupo hizo un sacrificio muy grande. Jugamos contra rivales muy importantes, muy buenos. Como el anterior contra Tigre, que es un gran equipo, uno de los mejores de México, tiene jugadores individuales muy buenos, una gran plantilla. Bueno, nosotros acá de locales, verdad que nos hacemos fuertes. Y bueno, ahora nos toca ir a jugar de visitante, sea cual sea el rival, pero estamos en la
Direct and to the point. Yeah.
final.
¿Seattle o LA?
Cualquiera, ¿no? Es una final y va a ser muy difícil, aparte jugamos de visitante. Ojalá sea un gran espectáculo, una gran final.
Leo, tú has jugado muchos clásicos en tu carrera, pero ¿qué significa sacarse la espinita de vencerle a Orlando City después de que cayeron goleados 3-0 y 4-1?
Bueno, la verdad que especial, ¿no? Siempre es especial jugar un clásico y como dije anteriormente, Orlando es
He gives a lot of credit out to other people, other teams. Very, very interesting. Not necessarily specifically type related, but he seems to be very, very modest about that, humble and happy to like point out the contributions of others. Just an interesting trait. To me, that speaks of a person with good character also.
una rival que tiene jugadores muy buenos, que es un equipo muy bien trabajado, donde tiene un técnico que ya viene desde hace muchos años trabajando de una misma manera, con un mismo grupo. Y bueno, la verdad que era una pequeña revancha para nosotros por haber perdido estos partidos en Liga y bueno, tuve la suerte de jugar la otra vez en League Cup contra Orlando, también poder ganar y hoy otra vez dejarlo fuera, así que es especial.
Leo, por último te tengo que preguntar, porque Argentina juega contra Venezuela en septiembre y por ahí se dice y se vive, la gente lo vive en que es tu último partido con Argentina en eliminatorias en Buenos Aires. ¿Tú lo estás viviendo de esa manera?
Sí, va a ser especial, va a ser un partido muy especial para mí porque es el último de eliminatoria. No sé si después habrá amistoso o más partidos, pero sí que es un partido muy especial donde por eso me va a acompañar mi familia, mi mujer, mis hijos, mis padres, mis hermanos y todo lo que...
This is why I'm bringing all them for the experience, my wife, kids, parents, brothers, in-laws, that I want them all to be there for the experience.
Lo que pueda también por parte de mi mujer, toda la familia y lo vamos a vivir de esa manera. Después ya te digo, no sé qué pasará, pero vamos con esa intención.
Gracias, Leo. Felicidades.
You never know what the future holds. Okay, so to me, the most important trait because he's almost certainly an STP. I don't see any abstraction like at all. The most important trait to distinguish between ESTP and ISTP from what we've seen from him is the consistent choice to not push into the future, to not push into the NI. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna, I'm looking forward to this and that. Maybe this will happen. That's more, ISTPs, the NI child, and the INJs, just the NI hero, are very pushy and like more willing to make some assumptions about how the future will go or like what they want and their goals. He is constantly reflected away from that. He has stated some like goals that he wants, but it's not with the force or the demand that like the NI optimistic types have. He does seem like outcome type to me, actually. No, yeah, no, he does. Even though there's a lot of SE and like I said, sometimes the SE looks like progression, but it's the methodical communication mixed with the directness. He's not just his responses are not just messy and moving around. They're somewhat measured to the point, but contained. Containment is a trait of outcome types also. So, yeah, guys, I think obviously the language barrier is tricky. I think the typing tools can still be used. Obviously, you got to be careful, but I think he's an ESTP actually. Even though visually he looks a little more like the ISTP, ISTJ. He looks a lot like Josh Allen to me, actually, the quarterback. I'm not sure what Allen's type is. Maybe I'll type him. I don't think he's ESTP, but so yeah, very lots of SE and FE. That's what's coming off. Always about the experience of people around me, my team, my family. That bold, cautious vector that Solomon taught me about, I think it's a valid vector. And just with the things that we noticed, I noticed a lot of SE, a lot of FE, and lots of concrete, and then actually a fair amount of outcome also, which the only type for that is the ESTP. So, if you guys enjoyed, if you guys are enjoying the World Cup, if you're into that, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.